I feel the need. I feel the need for a spoiler review for Top Gun Maverick coming up. Hey everyone, it's the Outlaw John Rocha. How you doing? Call sign the Outlaw. That's right, call sign the Outlaw. I'm here to talk about Top Gun Maverick, a spoiler review for this film. You guys know, if you follow me on social media, this is one of my favorite films of the year. I had such a blast watching this movie. I've seen it 3 times in Dolby Atmos and IMAX and regular, and all 3 times the film never loses its power, its effect on me. It's blowing up at the box office, almost 300 million already as I'm recording this spoiler review worldwide, and it is going to increase. I mean, there's a real possibility this film could cross $1 billion. I'm not lying to you. I know some people are like, well, are foreign countries going to really want to see this? It's Tom Cruise, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Cruise transcends all of that. But I'm going to get into all the things of why this movie worked, why I liked the movie, all the reasons that it really just kind of affected so many people who've gone to see it from multiple walks of life. I've seen many people who don't like Top Gun at all as a movie, and they loved this movie. I've talked to people who are not really Tom Cruise fans, and they loved this movie. And of course, those of us who are hardcore Top Gun lovers, this just was so perfectly well done. It brought a tear to the eye multiple times because of the great work by the writers, the story creators, by the director Joseph Kosinski, by Tom Cruise, and the rest of that cast, bringing real authenticity and emotion and vulnerability and a great story here that just led it to be one of the most perfect summer movies ever made. And before I get into it, I just want to remind you all to please subscribe to the channel down below, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so you see when we're dropping all the content we do on the Outlaw Nation channel. And then head on over to Twitch, follow me there, the Outlaw Nation, all one word. And if you want to support everything we got going on here on the Outlaw Nation and have some hangouts and get to talk to me twice a week, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha. See the multiple tiers that are available for you to subscribe and help us out here on the Outlaw Nation as we grow. All right, let's get into some of the things that I liked about the movie. Certainly the first one. Remember, this is a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen it, I'm telling you right now, stop here, go see it, come on back and hit play from here. But the first thing I want to talk about when we're talking about what makes the movie work, I think it all begins and ends with the story and the script. Really, that's the number one thing that sticks out for me as working, because when you're coming back after over 30 years since the last movie and you're like, well, what's the motivation for making this movie? What's the story really going to be about? Is he still a captain? Is he still a pilot? Shouldn't he be higher ranked by now? You know, he learned his lessons after the end of the first Top Gun movie. He was going to be an instructor. And so what's the story that we're trying to tell? So a lot of questions, you know, Val Kilmer having the throat cancer. What is his role going to be in all this? What's the role here that Miles Teller is going to play as Goose's son in terms of, is he going to be an angry son? Is he going to be committed and loyal to Maverick? What are all the story elements that are going to be involved in this? And I'm telling you right now, they had knocked it out of the park. I think everybody feels that way who goes to see this movie. It's so universally beloved and been reviewed in such a positive manner by almost all the critics because of how they got the story elements right here. And I think number one, it starts with the fact that they turned Pete Maverick Mitchell now later in life. You know, he's a test pilot pushing a test plane to Mach 10 at the beginning, which gets us back in with Maverick because we know Maverick loved to break the rules. And just when we think this is going to be just more of like Maverick being the cool dude, we get this really introspective, vulnerable journey of this guy who was looking back on the past mistakes of his life, still holding on to the death of his best friend, still navigating this career that never went as high as maybe some people would have expected it to go, and also a relationship that he had had in the past, an off and on again relationship that he had in the past that now comes back again into his life. And so we see an older Pete Maverick Mitchell, an older guy who is reflecting on everything that has gone on in the past, both good and bad, and now wanting to maybe kind of close the door on this chapter in his life. What's this journey like? And oh, by the way, he's also got to train these young pilots to complete this mission that's a possible suicide mission. And one of those young pilots happens to be the son of his best friend who died while he was piloting the plane. So all of that kind of echoing throughout the movie. And I think that this story is just so well told here. And a lot of that credit goes to the story guys here, Peter Craig and Justin Marks, for coming up with this idea of how to approach this character and how to approach the world of this character after all this time. They could have easily just gone back and had hit the same beats as we've seen before when some of these properties have come back, but they didn't. They explored so much more in this story of Pete Maverick Mitchell. And then Ehren Kruger and Eric Warren Singer and Christopher McQuarrie as the writers of this script do an excellent job with a lot of the scenes here in this movie. The back and forths between him and Penny Benjamin, the great Jennifer Connelly, Tom Cruise, and Jennifer Connelly have great chemistry in this movie. The conversations he has with Jon Hamm playing an excellent prick in this movie. He does so well, questioning Maverick, questioning why he's even there, questioning why he's at Top Gun, questioning why he's even been chosen to lead this mission when this guy can't follow orders. In the military, there are people who are very stringent about orders, and there are people who like to, break a little orders. Maybe, dare I say, outlaws in the military. Certainly, I was one of those when I was in there. And on the other side here, we have a beautiful scene between Val Kilmer's Iceman and Tom Cruise, and seeing that come through and the back and forth with their texts right off the bat initially before they meet, before they see each other, the texts back and forth about him going to Top Gun, being called to Top Gun right when he's being grounded to kind of lead this mission. Their texts give you a great little foundation of back and forth between two old friends. And then when they see each other, man, that's one of the most beautiful scenes in the movie. Just very emotional, very moving. We all know Val Kilmer has the throat cancer. Who knows how long he has to live? He's certainly powering through it and trying to live his life. And if you haven't watched that documentary on Val Kilmer, Val, that's on Amazon Prime, I can't recommend it enough. Definitely watch that. You get a good window into what he's dealt with and what he sounds like, and what his son sounds like doing his voice there. And seeing the back and forth with them in that scene is so moving, so touching. For those of us who are Top Gun fans, it has an even extra element of emotion to it. And then the conversation about letting go, and then the hug at the end. My God, that hug at the end between Iceman and Maverick, just kind of so moving to see him kind of closing the book on that. And then the sad passing of Iceman, even more so. We get to say goodbye to one of these characters, and in essence, saying goodbye to what his last connection to the original movie. So that matters. And so to see it go away, I think is just a powerful moment. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when you get to a certain age, people start to go. You start to lose your connections to these great times in your life. And that's a part of growing up. That's a part of aging. That's part of acquiring life wisdom. If you have any sort of ability to reflect and any kind of empathy about change in your life, those are the things you're going to confront. And I love that about this movie. And also the relationship here between Penny Benjamin and Pete Maverick Mitchell. Such a great chemistry, as I mentioned earlier, between Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly. They really make this relationship work. I mean, I don't know about you, but in the past, I certainly had on again and off again girlfriends. I'm sure some of you have had on again, off again relationships, girlfriends or boyfriends or what have you. And you know that feeling of like, at that time, it just doesn't work for whatever reason. Something's missing and you have a little fun together, but then someone breaks up with the other one. Then you guys get back together years later or months later, you try it out again, and then finally the timing might work. And certainly it works here for Penny Benjamin and Pete Maverick Mitchell as they connect up here in this movie. And the progression of the relationship is really well done here. Initially, she's all in control behind the bar, and he is, in a place of, they've called me here, they're going to ground me, I've got to teach these young kids, I don't know if I can do it. She has all the power here, and we see the relationship progress because, of course, she makes him pay for the drinks and for all the things that he does with the cell phone and disrespecting her and what have you. But when he's thrown out of the bar in that scene, and he's looking and he's seeing Rooster, that's Miles Teller's character, Goose's son, playing in the piano, seeing the shades and the memories from that from the past there when his father Goose would play on the piano while Maverick was next to him, seeing Rooster was a little child sitting on the top of the piano. Like all of that comes screaming back, and she notices, she sees it in his eyes, and she connects to this feeling he's going through, right? She sees something in him that she's never seen before. She's seen this element of him that is a little shaken, a little vulnerable, a little open to feeling the pain of mistakes and errors of the past. And I love that. And as their relationship progresses, she makes him come to her on her terms. Remember, she takes him out on that boat. There's so much symbolism when she takes him out on that boat, and he is unstable and not sure, and she's guiding, and she's so powerfully confident and strong, driving that boat, getting him to help her. That's symbolism there as well. And then later on, when they get closer and closer, there's a genuine connection, and he surrenders the truth about what happened with Rooster. Not only is Maverick taking on the fact that he still has not gotten over the death of his best friend and never found another friend, it seems like, to replace him as fully, that he's being confronted with Top Gun yet again and leading these pilots on a possible suicide mission. He's also got this relationship to navigate that is showcasing maybe some of the less respectful tactics or methodologies that he's used in relationships in the past. So all of this is being confronted. And also, he takes on this task of having pulled the papers of Rooster at the request of his mom and then being unable to tell him because he doesn't want Rooster to hate his mom as well as hating him for doing it. And that's how much respect he has for Goose's family and Goose overall, because he's willing to take that hit and take that on for the betterment of Rooster. And then the overall story, of course, going in, he's the one teaching them what to do. There's shades of the first Top Gun, throwing the manual in the garbage, but also kind of figuring out how to run this mission. He is determined to run this mission correctly and get them all back home. Jon Hamm's character doesn't care, or doesn't care, but he's certainly factoring that not everybody's going to come back home. So he's more willing to accept the loss of these pilots, or any of these pilots, than Maverick is, and Maverick is determined to make sure they can make it. So that is a really great element of this, because again, it's Maverick taking on a task that nobody thinks can be done. And because he can break the rules and think outside the box, he's the perfect guy here to train these young pilots, young Top Gun pilots, to take on this mission and to come back alive. And I love that the mission goes off. It's so great how they're training for the mission. All those flight action sequences are amazing. As groundbreaking and fun and incredible as they were back in 1986, the new versions of these fight action sequences are stellar. When he is training them, just like Viper and Jester trained them back in 1986, when he is training all those young Top Gun pilots and putting them through the paces, the action sequences there in the sky are phenomenal. It's coming real close to each other, the way they use the camera to make it feel as if they're way closer than they actually are. All of it really works. And the back and forth, the push-ups, the getting shot out of the sky figuratively, all of that works so well here in this movie and gets you to fully dial in to the journeys of these young Top Gun pilots as they try to prove themselves. And also, let's move forward to what happens near the end of the movie after they complete the mission. You have a Rooster and Maverick there on the ground, and that relationship, which has been building through the movie, the combative relationship between them, we're seeing the progression of their relationship through the movie. That comes to a head there at the end, where they have to rely on each other to survive the situation. And of course, they put Maverick in an F-14. Now, let me tell you something. That scene, that whole end sequence could have been super cheesy, could have really betrayed the film, but because the film is so good up to that moment, they earn this sequence and this like leap in logic that an F-14 would be available at that moment for him to get back in that F-14. And shout out again to the writers for being smart enough to find a way to have some nostalgia here for those of us who love the original Top Gun, to put Tom Cruise back in an F-14 and have him save the day yet again. Now let's move on to the acting. And speaking of Tom Cruise, man, he is incredible here. This is maybe some of the best acting work he's done since Jerry Maguire. I mean, there's so much going on here. And this speaks volumes about Tom Cruise as an actor. When the material is there, Tom Cruise can step up to the plate and deliver. We've seen it in Born on the 4th of July. We've seen it in Magnolia. We've seen it in a number of movies. Even within those Mission Impossible movies, there are certain emotional moments, emotional beats that he plays really, really well. From betrayal to care to frustration to anger to really to grasping loss. All of it is there in that series as well. And Tom Cruise steps up to the plate big time here. I mean, he is so touching and moving and vulnerable, and you so connect to this character. He's not doing the movie star thing that Tom Cruise can do sometimes. He's much more open. He's much more available to you as an audience, and we can't help but connect with that and feel the authenticity of that, and he delivers it so well. And I've already said the great stuff about Jennifer Connelly. She delivers a self-possessed, strong performance here that's also tender and gentle when it needs to be, fun when it needs to be, and also tough when it needs to be. And that really develops the chemistry between them as well. And then let's move on to Miles Teller. Miles Teller does an excellent job here as Rooster. You know, he's coming on with The Offer and some other recent, since Whiplash, Miles Teller's really been coming on as an actor, and seeing all the different work that he's done and seeing him grow and progress and come into his manhood, come into his power as an actor. Here's another gear or another tool in his acting toolbox that we hadn't seen before. And I think he does an excellent job here. And the confrontations he has with Tom Cruise throughout the movie, whether they're quiet or more overt, they are simmering with tension between them. You believe that there is a very strong young man underneath this exterior who wants to prove himself, but also is mad that an instructor like Pete and a family friend would question his ability. So all of that plays through, and his chemistry with Glen Powell, because Glen Powell is fantastic here, as well as Hangman. Certainly, he brings to mind Val Kilmer's Iceman because he's very confident in himself. He knows what he can do, but it's a newer version. He's even less willing to have confrontations because to him, it's just a matter of fact. It does lead to a battle when he finds out that Rooster is Goose's son, and Goose used to ride with Maverick, and Goose died in Maverick's plane while he was piloting it. So there is some elements here that he brings to bear. But in the end, Hangman is doing that because he thinks for the mission, it's best for him to be involved and not Rooster. So in the end, it's about what's best for the mission in his mind. And he plays this really, really well, from the opening beats in the bar and the pool table to all the way at the end when he saves them. It's a fantastic portrayal there by Glen Powell, who, by the way, was going to play Rooster, but then they cast Miles Teller instead, and he took this role, and I think he made the most out of it for sure. Other special shout-outs to Monica Barbaro and Danny Ramirez. I think they do excellent work here. Also, Lewis Pullman as Bob does an excellent job. Really subtle role, but he's in there with Monica Barbaro's Phoenix and kind of navigating things and calling out certain situations. He goes on the mission at the end. So I like that they have someone like Bob who's not needing the attention as much as some of these other Top Gun pilots are. And of course, Jay Ellis doing a great job as Payback. Another special shout out has to go out to Bashir Salahuddin as well, as Bernie, as Hondo. He does a great job here. He's essentially Maverick's right-hand man, both at the program and then later when Maverick goes to train those pilots for Top Gun. Just you know what, sometimes an actor only has a certain amount of screen time because there's a lot in this movie and you've got to make the most out of the screen time, and Bashir certainly does. The back and forth with them when they're getting ready at the beginning of the movie for him to get in that test plane and try to break Mach 10, you can tell there's already a really comfortable friendship between them and chemistry between them. And then later when they're navigating stuff through the Top Gun training, his back and forth with him, his occasional moments of the back and forth that they have is really strong as well. And then at the end, when Maverick's saying goodbye to him, thinking that he might not see Hondo again, there's some great back and forth. And then at the end, of course, when he does survive, there's some fantastic kind of wrapping up of that relationship and reaffirming their friendship and their strength together, which I really, really love. Another thing the movie does really well, I talked about the acting, I talked about the Top Gun pilots, the ones that stood out to me in terms of the actors, but also they are presented to us fully formed, fully fleshed out, and we immediately sense their connections, their relationships, their camaraderie, their battles, their issues with each other. All of it comes to the fore. So we spend enough time creating those characters. Those could have easily been throwaway characters that just serve a purpose to move the plot along. But no, we connect to all of them. We understand their motivations. We understand what's going on with them as they confront the things they confront. And all of them have moments to stand out and take the spotlight in certain scenes throughout the movie as they grow in their confidence to complete this mission. I think the film does an excellent job of showing you that and letting them breathe and letting them exist as 3D characters in this movie rather than just plot points or plot vehicles to help elevate Pete Maverick Mitchell. And that's not easy to do. And they really accomplished it with a lot of people, a lot of actors, and a lot of characters. Because we know we've seen other films where they try to introduce a lot of characters or a lot of new actors to a franchise or to a film, and it doesn't really work. They made it work here. The cinematography is great here, right? Claudio Miranda does an excellent job of the cinematography in this film, bringing it home, and the direction with Joseph Kosinski, both of them working in tandem to showcase those great action sequences, but also the final mission, and even those moments on the beach and the moments with him and Penny Benjamin out on the water, or the moments where he's just sitting out there reflecting on things and she comes up, or him riding his motorcycle, or the test plane stuff. The cinematography and the direction here is excellent, where Kosinski decides to put the camera works so well in underlining the tender moments, but also accentuating the more powerful moments, the confrontational moments. We going in close on the close-ups when you're having the battles between physical battles between people, the verbal battles between people, and then also pulling out to show the scope of the mission. I mean, when they're coming in on the water and you're back here and you're seeing them all in formation, or when they're coming speeding around in the canyon there, excellent stuff. Not to mention the training sequences, which I already was going crazy about. It just works so well. So the director and the cinematographer deserve so much credit for what they've done here. Also the music, Lauren Balfe, Harold Faltermeyer, Lady Gaga, Hans Zimmer, all of them coming in and delivering some fantastic work that just takes the film to a whole nother level. So in the end, as I said before on my non-spoiler review, I give this film 5 cowboy hats. It's the first film ever in the history of the Outlaw Nation that got 5 cowboy hats, and it absolutely deserves it, from the script to the story to the acting to the direction to the cinematography to the music to the emotions of this movie. It all works so well. The action sequences, what have you, all of it works. They all work together so well, seamlessly, organically, and perfectly to deliver one of the best films we've ever seen. And if you haven't seen, only seen it once, I cannot recommend it enough for you to go to see this film multiple times, because trust me, you will get so much out of it every time you watch it. Something new will come to you every time you watch it. And it works whether you're watching it on a small scale or on a big scale. And the reason is because the heart of the story is so perfect. It's so well done. The honesty, the authenticity, rather, the realness of what they're navigating here emotionally, and the sense of the stakes here, because we don't know who's going to live or die. We don't know what's going to happen. And they do such an effective job of that. And also, watching one of our favorite characters ever, for those of us who love Top Gun, looking back on his life and growing as a human being. And isn't that a great message to be sending out to people nowadays? You can make mistakes in life, but as you get older, you can learn from them and grow from them and forgive yourself, because only in forgiving yourself can you open the door to healthier relationships in your life. And that's important. Ask for atonement, ask for forgiveness, and then forgive yourself. That's a really important thing. And Pete Maverick Mitchell, who would have believed in 1986, after that movie was done, that we would get a sequel in 2022 that made us fall in love even deeper with a character like Pete Maverick Mitchell after a film like Top Gun Maverick. All right, well, let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you thought of my spoiler review. If I missed anything that I should have been glowing about or crowing about, let me know down there in the comments section below. Remember to hit a like on this video and share it on your social media. And when you do that, make sure you subscribe to the Outlaw Nation as well. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button, so you see when we're dropping all the content we do here. Come and follow me on Twitch, the Outlaw Nation, all one word, and my Patreon. Patreon.com/John Rocha, so you can support all the things we got going on here on the Outlaw Nation. All right, you guys are wonderful. I love you madly. Go see Top Gun Maverick again, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new spoiler review here on the Outlaw Nation. I feel that need for speed.